welcome to the Sean Geek and
And that's Fred.
podcast.
How you doing,
We
bro?
always, how are you doing?
Good, good. It's the was it the Christmas season is finally over and we're in a new year. And I think this is the first podcast or
First
second.
podcast of the new year. Yeah,
First podcast of the new year. Yeah.
it's about time. We bank a lot of episodes, so people are like, "What are you talking about? You release every week." Yeah, we do, but we
Yeah.
bank them.
Is
But
that the
this
new
is the
mic?
first. This is the new mic, isn't it? Sexy?
Yeah, look. It's got
Oh,
zoom.
yeah. It's very the girth is kind of taking me by surprise here. I'm like, what the hell is this? I'm used to singing out of mom's mic or talking through mom's mic, right?
Yeah.
But no,
You got a lot of space. Well, you don't have any mustache, so you don't have like
no,
mustache hair
I
or
don't have
anything.
this.
Yeah. The bristle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's Sylvie's like, what are you doing? What did you just buy? I'm like, sorry, I couldn't help myself. It's on sale. So then she bought a top and then she bought a whatever. She bought a couple things to even things out. So
Right.
we're even again. So we're bringing on someone we don't know today. Through our connections through the podcast multiverse or whatever.
Hmm.
And we have Tim Durling on the show. Tim Durling is an author. He is a video YouTuber, and he's also from New Brunswick. So now he's endeared himself to us by just being from there. Tim, introduce. Hello, how you doing?
Oh, thanks, guys. Yeah, I'm doing really good. It's good to talk to you guys, and yeah, really is a multiverse. I've never heard it put that way before, but yeah, there's different different strands, different timelines, um, and it's a pleasure to speak to a couple of fellow Maritimers, even though you guys are displaced Maritimers, but that's all right.
Home never leaves us. We're still
Yeah.
we always still call it home. Yeah,
And I'm
back home.
sure in conversation, like 'cause you're in Winnipeg, right?
Yeah,
I'm sure you have conversations and you lapse into maritime speak, and then all of a sudden people are like, "Is he still speaking English? What is he talking
all
about?"
the time,
Yeah,
Oh,
all the
love
well,
it.
time, and
we first moved
yeah.
here. It was like, yeah, but after a while, I think our uh, what do they call it, dialect or whatever, just kind of faded off a little bit. So we're not as, hey there, what's going on there, brother?
We took on the Winnipeg accent, and I hear it sometimes when I'm talking. Like, oh shit, I'm talking. I sound like I'm from here or something. But when I moved here, Tim, we Todd and I went to French school in Shediac. Where's that place again? And when I went to school here, nobody could understand the thing I was saying. I'm like, "What's wrong with you guys there? I come from Moncton, Shediac, New Brunswick. I don't." And they're like, "What? Where are you from? France?" So it took me a while to take on the Manitoba
Say
accent, which
worse.
they,
Do you speak French? Worse, Acadian.
yeah, oh, Acadian, yeah, exactly, 100%
That's it.
Acadian here.
That's its own thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 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 for sure. So I was listening to your show, your video show on YouTube, and I'm listening to it, and it was the episode you had on Ace Frehley when he passed, and I can't remember the guy's name, the gentleman you had on who talked first, and I was listening to his accent, and I'm like, oh, I miss home. Oh, I miss home. It was. Do you remember that
Uh,
one? He was
yeah,
reviewing the all the Ace Frehley albums back to
yeah.
back to back, and then I that was like the front part of it, and the back end was you talking about some Ace after that. So that was my introduction
Man,
to your video show.
I'll be honest with you. If I'm remembering this correctly, and my memory is terrible, um, I don't think that either of my co-hosts on that show are from the Maritimes.
What?
Yeah, let me hold
What?
on.
What was that accent now?
Hold on. We'll get there. I'm a professional, eh? Um, okay, so Ace Frehley. Um, Geez, how long ago was it? There
That
we
was back in
go.
October, I
Yeah,
guess. Right? Because I'm scrolling through. Which band are you talking about? Oh, this. Oh, Ace. Oh, Ace. I'm definitely in.
Oh, looks like his video froze.
Oh, did it? Oh, he'll be back.
You know, you could hit
Oh,
it any other time. Oh, wait a minute. There we go. All right. So here.
You froze there for a sec, but that's
Oh,
fine.
that's not it. I got to freeze at least once an episode, and I didn't even have the right one, but I will. I will. Yeah, I
Probably
did. I did a tribute to Ace. Let's see who it was. Yeah, let's see who that.
you had two guests. You had one who did
Yes,
his own segment.
right. Yeah, neither of those are Maritimers. Actually,
Where are they from?
Logan, the young fellow that did his it by himself, he's from somewhere in the States. Like he's actually, if you listen to Logan talk, he's got a bit of a twang. And
Well, where?
the guy
Oh
that I
yeah,
did, and the other guy was Mike
is he? He
Ladano.
might be Cajun.
I don't think he's
I don't know.
Cajun, but
I don't know.
but Mike Ladano, who has his own channel, Grab a Stack of Rock, he's in Kitchener, so he's
Holy
in
wow,
Ontario. So yeah, no maritime. I have a lot of maritime co-hosts, but neither of those were.
interesting. Wow.
They,
I wanted to check out. I liked what Logan was presenting. I was quite interested in that. I think I might have to go check his show out.
Well, Logan it's funny because like he's in his early 20s, and he's one of those younger people that I know that kind of keeps hope alive, like those younger generations continue to discover classic rock. I mean, he's Logan's been a panelist. He was a panelist in my Night Ranger book, and so he's gone to see all these classic bands. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. Like it's nice to see young people. We had when we had Leaderhouse on a few weeks ago, we were talking to Dustin, the guitar player for that band, and he was saying he has a young kid in his teens or whatever, and he's listening to classic rock. And I'm like, my kids don't listen to classic rock. They're listening to Ava Max, Olivia Rodrigo, Billie Eilish, like all the current pop stars. But his son is listening to no, he listens to Led Zeppelin, he listens to all that kind of stuff, and I'm like,
It's great, and my kids listen to a lot of different things and stuff that's newer than what I like, but we do have there are certain bands we have in common, like Rush and Queen and Zeppelin, and like so it's great, when all of a sudden you realize that almost on their own they're picking it up, and you go, okay, I did something right.
yes, on their own. See, that's I force
Or
feed
they
my kids my
and
music.
then they start asking you questions about songs or whatever. So yeah,
Do your
it's
kids
good.
play any instruments?
Um, they're both musically inclined. My daughter's a really good singer. She's never done anything professionally, and my son Jack used to play bass. I don't know if he does so much anymore, but he did for a while.
And how old are they?
Um, God,
This is a
my math
test. This is
is
the dad
yeah,
test.
no, no, Marley is 24 and Jack's 22.
Okay.
so have
Yeah.
you looked at the tickets for Rush and the new ones coming out for Triumph? Is that something you'd ever
You
want
know,
to take them to say,
it,
look, this is live from the era?
so this it's really interesting, and it's kind of a conversation that I've had to have with buddies of mine, like just in the last little while. Um, the live concert thing, I've been incredibly fortunate to see a lot of my favorites over the years. As I've gotten more crusty and older, it's not becoming the priority it used to be. It used to be tickets would go on sale and I had to have them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I'm just like the first thing is like that's ridiculously expensive.
Yeah.
You'd have to travel. Everything about it just like it's like for the 2 hours that you're watching a band on stage, like is it I've gotten to that point. I never used to understand it when people would say, I'm kind of over going to shows. I'm like, how can that be? And I'm like, holy shit, it's happened. I'm becoming that guy. But
There's no 50,000 seaters in your neck of the woods?
afraid not. Although I am surprised, Triumph and April Wine are coming to Moncton, which is
Oh yeah.
which is drivable, but I just don't. I haven't ruled it out, but I'm not gonna. If I get great, if I don't, it's not the end of the world with the way that it used to be. With
Mhm.
Rush, I can't even think about it because it would be have to be Toronto or
Yeah.
Montreal,
They're
and
not
that's
even coming. They're not coming to Winnipeg.
No.
no.
So
Um, and do I think it's great? I do. I think it's fantastic. I'm not one of those Rush fans that has a problem with it because I don't. Because there is a generation of fans that got into the band not only after Neil died, but after they stopped touring.
Yeah, it's
Who am I
true.
to keep them from, Getty and Alex are lifers. It's all they've ever done since they were
Yep.
13 is play in a
Amen.
band together. Now, the funny part about that is, having said all of that, before the news of the Rush reunion, which by the way surprised me, I did not see that coming.
No,
I
me
like to
neither.
think I like to think that as a jaded fan, I say, yeah, bands that say they're done, they're not done. Rush, I thought when they said it that was it. Um, but I think it's very classy the way they're doing it. The only other thing I'll
Yes.
say about it is I'm really glad they didn't go with an established name like a Mike Portnoy or Stuart Copeland. Nothing against those guys. They have their own sound, and it would sound
Yeah.
bolted together. So I'm
Yeah.
glad they got a relative unknown. So I hope it's great. I hope it's
Todd and
great.
I, Todd and I kind of talked about it. I never got Todd's opinion though. How, like, what do you think, like, based on what Tim said? Like, what if they had brought in like Mike Portnoy from Dream Theater or Stuart Copeland from The Police or something? Like, what do you think? Is
Well,
that
I mean, they have played together a couple of times, since Neil's passed, and they usually had like a replacement drummer, and it's usually someone
yeah,
who's
one of
established.
those guys? Yeah,
Yeah, and it's like, okay, well, we're going to play with three or four established drummers, and we're going to pick some songs and do them, and that's
they played
fine.
with the guy from South Park at
Yeah,
one
Yeah.
show.
but the problem is like you said, like now you're focusing on the drummer, where it's got nothing to do with the drummer. It's almost like, okay, we're going to put, say, a Neil Peart clone. Say that a clone, for example, it's a no one's name but him. If you plunk them back in there, that's the band. If you put someone in there that doesn't have a famous name but is very technical, just like he was, and can pull it off just as well, I mean, I can't say are better because when it comes to drumming, it's like, okay, I know what I hear, and how I hear her play is really good. And Neil was fantastic. So unless I hear her actually playing the songs, I but I do prefer the way they've done it. I mean, it's been hyped up, and then this whole thing with the tickets and the scalping, and it's a shame that that has to be overshadowing the actual event that's going to be happening, because that is going to be epic just for them to come out again.
Yeah.
I mean, similarly with Triumph, maybe not to that extent, but I'm just wondering if Triumph went, "Hey, Russia's getting back together. Why don't we get back together?"
I really was surprised that happened too, because Rick Emmett swore up and down for years it would never happen. I
Yeah,
know that they sort of mended fences, but I still didn't think that they would tour. I didn't think Gilmore wanted to go back on the road. Um, and I'm not 100%, we'll see how that turns out, because it is a different kind of thing. Back to the Rush thing for a second. Here's the issue as I see it with getting an established drummer that's got their own sound. Like Stuart Copeland would be great for stuff like New World Man or
mm,
Vital Signs.
yeah,
But if they do stuff like, if they go into the heavy stuff like Working Man, or even a lot of the stuff from Clockwork Angels, that really tight snare sound isn't going to work. Conversely, you get Mike Portnoy, he would be great for the heavier, really proggy stuff like Xanadu. But, you know, do I want to hear him play? I don't know. Time Stands Still. Because Neil could do it all. That's what I'm saying. You'd almost need, if you were really
yeah.
going to do that, you almost need a gallery of drummers. So no, get a complete unknown, let them do their own spin on it. When everybody started talking about that, and I can't believe they're going out with Neil and all, like, that was not the issue at all for me. The issue for me is like, yeah, but Getty's voice.
Mm,
The last few tours, he
mm.
sounded terrible. I'm sorry. They're one of my
The Rock
favorite
and Roll
bands.
Hall of Fame show.
Yeah, it
But I
was
mean, he was
rough.
hammered though,
But the
right?
R40 tour, oh man, that was brutal. I didn't see it, but any clips I've seen of it in the live album, like he just. So I really hope that's something that he's had time to rest his voice, and it's yeah.
Yeah, like we saw the R40 tour. It was like one of the few times they ever came to Winnipeg because of that whole Xanadu, the whole Xanadu myth. Where, oh, do you know the Xanadu myth?
I don't.
Todd, do you know the Xanadu myth? Xanadu in Winnipeg?
Now, has that had something to do with why they hadn't played Winnipeg in a while?
Yeah, or so the rumor goes. They denied it, but it's pretty clear they played a show in Winnipeg. They played Xanadu, and then I don't know. The crowd was hostile. Someone threw something or something. I don't know. I don't know. Something happened where Winnipeg basically was mean, and they never came to Winnipeg after that again. And they never played Xanadu in concert again after that. It was during the song Xanadu that the shit happened.
Well, wait a minute. What tour was this supposedly?
Oh God, this would have been in the 70s.
Because they brought Xanadu back. So
Did
I
they?
don't. Yeah,
Okay.
that
So
sounds
I
like
so see, it
that
disproves
sounds
the
like
myth.
bullshit. That sounds like
Oh, it's
bullshit
total
to me.
bullshit. It's but they've mythologized or whatever. Like it's a big myth, right?
I
It's like,
mean, they
oh my
said I've
God.
heard. You know what? I've heard the same thing about St. John, New Brunswick.
Whoa, what?
In the early days, and I'm talking the early days, like maybe like Caressa Steel days, and they
Okay.
might have been opening for somebody. I don't know, but apparently the crowd was not into it, and I don't know. It wasn't any one particular
Was there a
song.
particular song they were playing or
No,
something that they
no,
stopped playing?
it's not the Bastille Day myth. No.
Mm.
Everybody loves a good myth, but sometimes you hear something and you go, "Well, that's just stupid."
Oh yeah. But did you ever hear the one about Kiss in Moncton?
Well, no.
Okay, so I don't know how versed you are in the full catalog. I am unfortunately overly versed in the catalog.
I like
But
to think I know this stuff, but
okay, your favorite album, this has to be your favorite album, the Gene Simmons solo album. He has he has a song that Cher's on. And he's talking about living in sin at the
Living in
Holiday
Sin,
Inn,
yeah.
right? Well, they used to stay at the Holiday Inn all the time, wherever they went. And then they stayed at the Holiday Inn in Moncton. This was been like, I don't know, 75, 76,
They
like
played
very,
there.
very early.
I know they played there in '77.
So maybe it was 77. So they
So I think
played
Cheap Trick
there.
was opening for them.
That sounds about right. So we're gonna see we're gonna test whether this is a myth or not. But apparently they trashed the Holiday Inn. Kiss has never trashed a hotel room. We know that. That's never
No,
happened.
Ace and Peter maybe.
But apparently the Holiday Inn was so pissed off they had a lifetime ban at that hotel in Moncton. And then they never came back. And then they were supposed to come back in on the
Okay,
Hot in the Shade tour.
I know exactly where you're going with this. When Ian Paul broke his ribs. Okay, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I've
So
got quite a few friends that had tickets to see that, and it
yeah,
didn't happen.
yeah, I did too, right?
Yeah.
And not to be a downer, but my friend, a friend of mine who lives in Shediac, he'd always wanted to see Kiss. He had muscular dystrophy, and he wanted to see Kiss. It was the one thing he wanted to do in his life before, And then they were going to be there on he was 25 that year, and he was going to see them on his 25th birthday or whatever. And then Paul broke his ribs. They never came, and then my friend passed away right after that.
Oh,
And I was so pissed off. But I mean, whatever, like shit happens but that would have been the return. But I don't think they've been to Moncton still.
they played St. John. They played St. John in
They played St. John?
2013. Yeah, they played St. John in 2013.
They did?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay, that I didn't know.
But other
So
than
that was
that
the
would've-
current lineup.
yeah, that would have been
newer lineup.
the monster. That would have been with the spider stage,
Okay.
and yeah, I know I've got a couple of friends of mine that went to that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So have you seen
Sean and I
Kiss?
me? Yeah,
Mm.
I saw them. I've only seen them twice. I saw them in Montreal in '96 when they reunited, and I saw them in Portland, Maine on the Psycho Circus tour.
Okay. Were you going to say, Todd?
No, I was going to say, Sean and I went to go see them. I've only ever seen them once, and I saw
that
it
was
with
in
the original.
'97.
It was with the original lineup. So Peter,
Yeah.
Chris, and
Yeah,
Yeah, that was
and
the year they were supposed to go to Moncton. That was the year that Richard passed. That was the same year. That
no,
was the
that was '90. That
was
was
that
in the
90?
Shade.
Oh, sorry, that was 90. Sorry.
Yeah, because
Yeah, sorry,
that would have
was
been
90,
with what
yeah.
Winger and Slaughter, and there's no way that
Correct.
would have happened in '97.
No, very true.
Those were
Very
dark.
true.
Those were dark times.
oh wait, a minute.
Yeah.
Winger and Slaughter. I think I saw them when they were here. I know
You
Slaughter.
saw Slaughter opening
Slaughter
for
and-
Cinderella, you and I
or
went
Cinderella. Okay,
on the
that's-
Heartbreak Station
yeah.
tour.
Oh, cool. In 2000, I've said this on, people that know me know that I hated grunge. I hated that whole movement, and I still do. I hated what it did to all of my bands.
Sure.
As much as I understand that something had to shift because there were simply too many bands getting signed that all sounded the same and all looked the same.
Mhm.
I get it. I just wasn't on board with the whole downer thing. That's what I looked at as a downer.
Yeah.
You
Drop
know,
D.
drop D and the vocal style of and the mumbling and the what is he even saying? Anyway, but it came around because end of the '90s, um, bands were able to go on these package tours and actually
Yeah.
you know. So in 2000, a bunch of us went to see. This was a great bill: Slaughter, Dokken, Cinderella, and Poison. And
Jeez.
that was one of the
Wow.
most fun. It's not the best concert I've ever been to, but it was probably the most fun. And I
Oh, sure.
remember it was in a civic center, and I
Was
don't
it
know.
Cinderella or was it just Tom Kiefer? Was it actually
No,
a
no,
full
it was
Cinderella
Cinder. It
lineup?
was still it was
Man.
Corey and Brittingham and Labar. Yeah,
Really?
it was the Cinderella band. This
Before
was
before Jeff passed away then.
yeah. So this was the year 2000. So it was quite a while,
Wow.
and kept hoping they'd put another album out, but it was a civic center. I don't know if it would have been 1,000 seater, but it was a pretty decent sized building. And I remember looking around and thinking, all those people that made fun of me for still listening to this stuff 5 years ago can go, you know, this people like this.
Yeah.
People like all kinds of music. Don't make it
Yeah.
about,
Yeah.
you can't like this if you like that. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. But I will say this, and I'm a Poison fan. I will defend that band because they're fun rock and roll. I'm a fan. Cinderella was the best band that night. I wouldn't have wanted to follow them.
So
They
wait,
were
Poison was the headliner
amazing.
then
Yeah,
at
Poison
that
was the
point?
headliner. Yeah. Cinderella was so good. I would say darn near flawless. And Tom sounded great. He'd gotten his vocals back. It sounded just like the albums.
That was after he had the surgery on
All
his
the yeah, all the
vocal
surgery
cords,
on it.
right?
Yeah, yeah. And I remember I can still picture that it was the dry ice, and he comes out with the double neck, the Gibson double neck, doing night songs, and oh, it was so
So
cool.
this was post Heartbreak Station then, I guess?
Oh yeah,
This
this
was
was the
after that?
year
Okay.
2000. This was
2000.
They didn't do any songs from Still Climbing, which is a great album. They put that out in '94, and it completely died.
I
So
gotta
it was
listen to that because I stopped at Heartbreak Station not for any reason, just
well, Still Climbing was invisible to most people. I was looking
yeah.
for it. I was reading
So
Metal
you're telling
Edge,
me I
and
should go
still,
check it out then?
if you can find it. Yeah.
Oh,
No,
I
it's
have
good.
ways of
I
finding
like
things.
it. I like it better than Heartbreak Station myself.
Oh, okay. All
But
right.
then again, I like all the Cinderella albums. I don't think they did a bad album. I just wish there was more.
Yeah, agreed.
And Tom's two solo albums, I think, are quite good, and those are about the closest you're going to get to
Yep.
another Cinderella album for whatever reason. I really don't know why. There's never been. I know that they recorded an album in the late '90s when John Kolodner revived the Portrait label. You might remember that Rat put out that self-titled album. Great White
Mm,
put out an album.
okay, that was on
Um,
that label.
yeah, it was going to be on that label, but some bullshit happened. It didn't come out. I know some of those songs, like Solid Ground, ended up on Tom's first solo album. But
Okay.
yeah, apparently there's somewhere in the Sony vaults there's a Cinderella album that we'll never hear.
Oh, come
Same
on,
thing.
just put
Same
that
thing with
put
Damn.
that shit out. Like I
Same
hate
thing with
that
Damn
there's
Yankees. Apparently, Damn Yankees had a third album like all ready to go with a serial number on it and everything, and then they pulled the plug on it.
or the Badlands albums that are not available anywhere because of
Well, we know why that
the
is.
bullshit there. Yeah, like
Yeah.
So what do they do? The record company buys your time and says, okay, well, we own it. We're not going to release it. And
Yeah.
you can't release it either, even though
Yeah.
you're going to
I
create.
well, they own
you
the
could
masters, right?
the label would own the master, so you could probably re-record all the songs. But a lot of bands, they feel so defeated after that. They're like, oh, the hell with it. Let's just
Yeah.
write some more songs or whatever.
Right.
But that was a great bill. Like that was, it was one of those things where like
And
you
sorry,
read
where
about.
was it? Where was this? You said was this in Maine?
Yeah, it
You
was
saw it?
it was in this show in 2000 was in August. It was in Augusta, Maine.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so because I'm like New Brunswick's right on the border of Maine, right? So
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
seen
yeah, of course,
plenty
yeah.
of shows in Bangor and
Bangor, yeah.
Bangor and Portland. And, yeah.
Banger, banger, Maine.
As a matter of fact, the last show I saw was in Portland. It was it was March or February of 2025, and it was somebody I never thought I'd get to see in concert. It was Adrian Vandenberg.
Ooh.
Wait, his Vandenberg band?
Yes,
Or
the current
Really?
version of it. Mostly Whitesnake songs, and that was how it was advertised. But
Okay.
I am a huge fan of those Vandenberg albums in the '80s. I think those are
Mm.
spectacular, and I trumpet that band to the world. And so I was more than happy to go. I'm like, I got to see the Burning Heart solo performed live, which is I've called that my favorite guitar solo of all time, and I still
Tim, maybe
stand
you
by
can
that.
educate Todd a
No,
bit on
I got
the White Snake stuff, but like Vandenberg was like responsible for writing all the songs with David Coverdale, right?
On Slip of the Tongue,
On Slip of the yeah.
except for Fool for Your Lovin', which is a remake. But
what
yeah,
was, what was the name of that solo?
Burning Heart. So Vandenberg came out with their debut album, self-titled in 1982 on Atlantic Records, and Burning Heart was a power ballad. It's one of my favorite power ballads ever, and it was a minor Billboard hit. I think it hit like 39. So it did get a little bit of airplay and a little bit of video play, but it's got my
Oh, and that
all-time
was
hit.
off Slip of the Tongue album.
No.
No, wait, what? I'm trying to see if I can find it because I want to save it.
So the funny thing is, though, okay, let's back up. So Vandenberg put out 3 albums. In '82, they put out a self-titled one that had Burning Heart on it, and that was their most commercial success. Okay. Then in '83, they had a second album called Heading for a Storm, and then in 1985, they had an album called Alibi. I think all 3 of those albums are spectacular, but they weren't successful. And so by this time, I think the story goes, Adrian flew from from Holland, where they're from, to Los Angeles to try to to renegotiate a deal with either Atlantic or get a new band or whatever. And
Yep.
this is when he was approached by David Coverdale to, I don't know what came first because that's a confusing story, to play the Here I Go Again solo that appears on the '87 album,
Yeah.
or to appear in the videos like the Still of the Night, with this
Oh, because
band
he
that
wasn't
did.
the writer on that album on the
Not at all.
self-titled.
Not at all.
Oh,
No,
who? Wait,
John.
so
No,
who was?
Sykes. John Sykes
Oh,
co-wrote.
John Sykes. Duh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
with
of course.
with the exception of "Crying in the Rain" and "Here I Go Again," both of which were
Yeah,
White
yeah,
Snake
yeah,
remakes.
yeah.
But yeah, Coverdale Sykes wrote that entire album. So of course Sykes that
Oh,
didn't work
yeah,
out.
because okay, so there was a big debate. There's a show I listen to called Pod of Thunder. They're a Kiss podcast.
Those are the guys I was talking about that I had so much fun on their podcast, but I didn't know their format until I was actually on it. Those are the guys. Yeah,
You were
those
on that
guys.
show?
Yeah,
Okay.
those guys are
Uh,
fantastic.
oh
They
yeah,
were so great. Yeah.
yeah. I'm friends with those guys. Those guys are
Yeah.
awesome. We have well, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's going to be something going on later.
No,
But
I'm big.
um,
I really enjoyed that. I got to say, that's the. I By the time that we started filming, it was midnight where I am, and I'm not a late.
mhm.
Like I'm an early to
Yeah,
bed,
because
early to rise.
they're in
But
yeah.
so it was like
So
almost
so
2
so
a.m. when
Chris,
I got to bed, but it was worth it.
so Chris L would always say that the reason that John Sykes was kicked out of Whitesnake or wasn't in Whitesnake anymore because he was a far more attractive man than David Coverdale.
I think that's got a little bit to do with it, but I think there's far more to it than that.
Oh, of
I
course,
think
of
both
course.
of those guys had some pretty serious egos, and
Hmm.
they butted
Huge
heads.
egos.
And they
I mean,
butted, and it's
Sykes was like the
yeah,
new wave of British heavy. He was there for that,
yeah. And
you know.
Sykes was just unnaturally talented. Um,
Oh
I
God, yeah.
I
Sing.
I
He could sing.
and he could
He
sing.
could play.
That
He could write.
First Blue Murder album, masterpiece. But anyway,
Yep. Todd, go listen to Blue Murder. It's awesome.
so
Write it down.
the so the Whitesnake thing, yeah, they butted heads. They could not coexist in the same band. So Coverdale kind of it just jettisons the whole band, right? Not just him, but Neil Murray and Ainsley Dunbar
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
He
Everybody
gets
was
these
out.
guys strictly for the video,
Yeah.
and
Rudy
that's why.
Sarzo.
Yeah, Rudy Sarzo, Tommy Aldridge, Vivian Campbell, and Adrian Vandenberg. So, and all of those guys had pedigree to some extent, right? They'd all come
Yeah.
from successful, but that's why if you get the deluxe version, or if you went to any of the shows from that tour, the songs don't sound anything like the versions that are on the album. No, because it's a completely different bunch of guys, with one exception, and that's Adrian's solo on Here I Go Again. That is the only time Adrian Vandenberg appears on the '87 album, is the solo, not even the rhythm guitars from
Yeah.
Here I Go Again. And I'm talking
That's
about
a great
I'm
solo.
talking about, yeah, and I'm talking about the version that we all know, the video version. I'm not talking about the crappy Pop 87
Radio version.
remix.
Yeah.
That I hate that version. Sucks.
I think you need to turn up the keyboards and turn down the
Oh, it's
guitar
so
because
it's awful, and it
it's
it, it it
garbage.
it it ruins the whole dynamic of the song because it starts right in with the whole band, and the whole point of that song is that it builds to that first chorus.
Sure. What do you
I even like the '82 version on Saints and
okay,
Sinners.
that was my next question.
I like the old Whitesnake. When the '87 album got big, because I've always been like a real completist. I feel like I'm just blabbing here. Um,
This is what we do in the show, man.
but
We
I'm a
do one of these
completist.
all the time.
I'm a completist, so I like a band.
I knew I should have made a left turn at Albuquerque.
Listen, my favorite cartoons of all time.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. This,
So,
and then, you know what? I'm always surprised to find out some of those place names were real. Like there actually is a place called Walla Walla, Washington.
yeah. Oh yeah, there is. Yeah.
I didn't. When I laugh so hard, it's like Newport News, huh? Walla Walla, Washington.
Walla, Washington. So okay. So we have to educate Todd. Like you and I are like entrenched in like knowing a whole bunch of shit. So Todd, did you know that "Here I Go Again" off the Whitesnake album, the version you're familiar with, is not the original version?
I've heard both versions, and it was like
You've heard the original?
Yeah, because when I heard it on the radio, I was like, "Wait a second, that sounds different than when I was watching the video." Because they had a different. It was a
Right,
different.
but it was originally released
Solo,
in.
different-
But there's actually three. Let's remember, there's actually three versions. Okay, so this is where it
okay.
gets complicated. I've never heard the original version on the radio.
No,
It's got basically it
I heard it on
sounds,
XM one time, and I was like,
that's
"What
cool.
the hell is this?"
But it starts out, whereas the version most people are familiar with starts out with the full on synths. The '82 version is playing the same chords, but it's John Lord on organ.
Yeah,
So it's got a
John Lord.
totally different feel to it. And the main thing that people always talk about if they know that original version is that Coverdale, instead of singing like a drifter, I was born to walk alone, he sings like a hobo. But it's cool. I like the fact that you have this alternate version to go back and listen to. And there is a video to it too. It's just them like in a theater lip
Pod of
syncing.
Thunder makes fun of the hobo thing all the time. It's a recurring theme.
But
on the show,
I
so.
like both. I mean, obviously there's a reason that the '87 version was the hit, and it's the first one I heard. But then there was that '87 pop remix that came out with after the album was out.
Yeah.
Which I remember hearing that, going, "What is this? Like, this is awful." It's
But you know what, though? I will say this. My wife doesn't like my music at all. At all. But she knows that song, she knows that band, and she knows that version, like the keyboard heavy version. And you know what?
interesting.
They sold 1 million freaking albums based on the radio version. And they became a crossover band.
I don't.
And
That
it
radio
made a
mi-
bunch of money. Like,
the
okay.
I don't think that radio mix did jack squat for them.
You don't think so? Well, not
No.
for me. I hated
It's the version that people know because they've seen the video, and that's the version that's on the '87 album. To me, that's the one that counts.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
That other one,
But-
like not in every station played it. Like it wasn't even widely available. So I'm sure people heard it and thought that, oh, I just didn't catch it from the beginning because the band's already playing.
I know Sylvie said, like, why is there so much guitar in this? I don't remember that. So when my wife was listening, she's like, it was alien to her. But she only listened to pop stations, right? Like,
Yeah.
I only listen to rock stations.
But
so.
but if you listen to a station that played that one, that would be the one you were familiar with. But for the most part, radio stations played the version that was on the album that they based the video on. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the one that.
I have a very serious question for you.
All right.
So being from the Maritimes, Todd and I talked about this before, but since we have a Maritimer on the show, I'm all excited. But when we lived back home, radio sucked. Like where we live, CKCW was that right, Todd? CKCW.
Yeah, that was the AM station in Montreal.
Yeah, the AM station.
And the only good sounding station was the country FM station that I did not like. It wasn't in the country at all.
But we were inundated. I remember wanting to hear music that wasn't Burton Cummings, that wasn't Anne Murray, that wasn't Gordon Lightfoot, that wasn't Glenn Campbell. I just died when I moved to Winnipeg. It was like, oh, like, thank you. But I think it was around the time that we left that the radio stations actually started playing something else, you know?
Well,
Well,
80,
do you
87.
yeah, do you
87 is
remember
Wade
that?
Milton. And that was when, as soon as we got here, it was like, uh, I mean, those albums, like the first time I heard U2 was here.
Oh, I didn't
Um,
know who U2 was until I moved here. Yeah.
yeah, and it was like that concert that they had on the roof, or the one song that they played.
Oh, the Red
Where,
Rocks.
yeah, where the streets have no name. Was
Yeah,
that
something like that.
partly or
Never
something?
mind. I'm thinking of something else.
But now, I mean, that was probably the least. I didn't really listen to U2, so, but all the other stuff like the White Snake that came out. I mean, the Steve Vai, they had, Van Halen. They were they got back together, so now they had a couple of OU812 had come out, and it was like a plethora of music that came out that was like, yeah, this is the stuff we want to listen to. Because when you're younger and you listen to a song or whatever you're listening to,
Rhinestone Cowboy or like
no,
do you
Dire Straits or something, and he's doing the solo. It's like, yeah, that's the type of music I like guitar stuff, but that was relatively clean compared to the '80s rock that we listened to was heavier. So it was like, yeah, heavy, and then it went from that to the grunge, and then from grunge it went to the gent, drop D and drop A. And it was like, I can't listen to this.
Yeah.
It's not my forte. I like the '80s stuff. And then when you hear the bands coming back, I mean, either the band will come back just the singer alone because now the band's broken up, or I mean that was kind of the start of it. Once grunge kind of had taken its journey for a while, then all of a sudden these bands started popping up, and then now, as you can see, all those bands are trying to get back into the game, knowing that there is a market for them now, and the boomers, I mean, have aged, and we're kind of what Gen X, I guess, would be our thing. So we're getting older. So now they're like, okay, well, these guys are still around. They still want to listen to this music. So let's get back together and put a few shows out.
well, you lost me, Todd. Where are you going with that?
Did I do that?
I'm sorry. I'm listening.
Okay.
But
I guess
I think what I was trying to say,
Was
I
there a
think
call to? I had a manager that I loved working with
call to
once,
action.
and I said, "Was there a call to action there?" Because she's looking at me. I'm like, "Did you actually ask me a question?" And she laughed. I'm like, "No, because I don't know what you want me to do."
Well, I think well where I was starting off was, do you remember the radio being barren with no great music on, and then the transition to like what Todd was talking about? All of a sudden, oh my God, there's Van Halen, there's all these great bands. Suddenly, great bands were making it onto our radio stations that previously only played Burton Cummings and Murray, Gordon
Well,
Lightfoot, like that
okay,
kind of
yeah,
stuff.
I see what you're saying. Um, Now I currently work in radio, so I got to be careful.
Oh, do you still work in radio? I
Oh
wasn't sure.
yeah,
Okay, okay.
yeah. I'm a commercial writer, but I can speak to this. Okay, yeah, I'm safe. Yeah, our local radio station, which was an AM station, which I suppose would have been like. Now it's funny. You're gonna think this is funny. When I had relatives that lived in Riverview for a time, so we used to go visit them about once a year, and I thought CKCW was actually a pretty good station compared to my local station,
Oh
which
God,
was
how bad
which
was
was
yours?
which was mostly country with a little bit of AC. Now let me tell you just how AC it was, okay? For some reason this sticks in my mind. You know the song Belinda Carlisle, one of her first solo hits called Mad About You from
Yeah, yeah,
1986?
definitely know it. Yeah,
There's a guitar solo in that, right? And it's Andy
sure.
Taylor from Duran Duran. Not only did the local radio station cut that guitar solo out, they didn't even do it on the beat. It was a terrible edit. It's like they were so scared of electric
Oh,
guitars, okay? But it just so happened, uh, and this would have been 85. Yeah, it was right around 1985. So I was born 74. So it was right around 1985 when I really started listening to the radio as far as for music I wanted to hear and paying attention to current music and listening to the Casey Kasem and
yeah,
finding out who sang what songs. There happened to be a pretty good top 40 station south of the border
in Maine.
in Maine.
Yep.
It was called WDHP. Doesn't exist anymore. I used to listen to that station faithfully. And they were FM, so automatically it sounded better. But they played top 40, and that meant that, okay, you're going to hear Madonna and Phil Collins, but you're also going to hear Van Halen and Loverboy and
Yeah.
REO Speedwagon and stuff that had a little bit more guitar. Night Ranger. I'm an enormous Night Ranger fan. I should be. I wrote a book about them. But
Yep.
uh, and that was, I learned so much by listening to that station. And as a matter of fact, the funny thing is that listening to that station was the first time I ever heard Rush. The first time I ever heard Rush was on a U.S. station, which is
And
crazy,
that was in
right?
1984, you were saying?
85. So what happened, I could remember this plain as day. It was my Christmas break that year, so I was in grade 6, and I was home, and I stayed up later because it was Christmas break, and at 11 o'clock at night, they'd have like a top 5 most requested songs. And the song The Big Money was out from Power Windows. That's the first song I ever heard from Rush. I'd heard of them, but I'd never heard them. And they became one of my all-time favorite bands. That's where it started, right there. Like 5 nights in a row, people were calling for that song. So, yeah, you know, when I first heard Why Can't This Be Love by Van Halen was on that station, and that's, spoiler alert, that's my Van Halen.
Yeah,
I wrote
sure.
a book about Sammy Hagar's solo album. So I love the Dave stuff, but when I got into it, you know, timeline is everything. The stuff that you get into when you first get in, it's really tough. You can't beat that, right? It doesn't matter. It's almost like but that's when I latched on. But yeah, it was 86, and well, the band that changed everything for me was Bon Jovi.
Yep.
Slippery
I
When
remember
Wet.
you talking about that. Yeah.
When
I
you
had
were
that one.
when you were 12 years old, I can guarantee you, and all you listened to was top 40 radio. You Give Love a Bad Name was the heaviest thing you'd ever heard. Was the
Sure.
heaviest, loudest guitars, loudest drums, the shouted vocals. Hooked, line, and sinker. This is what music should sound like. And for a while, it did. That became the sound of the mainstream. There was so many bands that were doing that, and I lapped it up, man. I was so into that scene, and that's why grunge was like, what is going on?
No, we had it. Now you went and changed it on me.
Look,
Yeah.
okay, so
Yeah.
I tell this story a lot, and it is absolutely true. The way that I remember it, my senior year, I graduated in 1992, which was a really, really pivotal time in music. Like it was a wholesale shift. No, it didn't happen overnight, but it feels like it did. You know what I mean? Like some bands lasted longer than others. A lot of it
Yeah.
died out slowly, like they were on life support. It was really bad. But I can remember when we went for Christmas break, 91. People in my school were still listening to Warrant and Firehouse and Trickster.
Yep.
You know what I mean? When I came back in January, it was all Pearl Jam and Nirvana, and I'm like, that stuff's weird. Why are you? What? And it was
remember that time well,
overnight.
too.
It was like overnight.
It was
Like,
overnight.
what happened?
You want to hear something weird? So I guess I'm a bit older than you. In 91, I just moved back to Winnipeg. I'd lived in Montreal for a while, and I was, drinking age. So I was going to the bars, and and it's all like, I want to give you devotion. It's all this dance, like super dancey stuff, right?
Yeah.
But then they always played Smelled Like Teen Spirit in the middle of everything. And they played it 3 times a night in a dance club.
That's rough.
That was really strange, but every single person jumped on the dance floor.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I don't
understand how it flipped that switch.
I just never got on board. And to me, Nirvana is the worst culprit of all of them. Like some of those bands, like Soundgarden and Stone Temple Pilots, I can pick a song here or there where I can go, yeah, that's good.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a good song. But I just couldn't take the whole oppressive thing. Like Alice in Chains is a great band, but it's just too. It just feels like the walls are closing
depressing.
in, and it's like life is.
Sure.
I can't take it. I can only take so much. But the worst thing was too. We maybe even worse than that is that some of the bands that came before them were like, maybe we should do a little bit of that.
Yeah, that's exactly what
And
happened.
I will say this, the single worst result of that is one of the most terrible albums that I own in my collection, and I only own it because I like the band. Came out in 1997. Dokken. The album's called Shadow Life.
I don't even know that one.
It is a
Well,
It's shit. It
now
is
I gotta go listen to it.
horrible. It is so
So wait, so
bad.
Dawkins wasn't singing with his high pitch. He was going to sing with a really deep. Like, what did he do
Wasn't
It's
as a
got,
Lindsay.
vocalist?
it was kind of like that. Yeah, it was the
Yeah.
last one. It was the last album with Lynch, and it's terrible.
Okay.
It was just a total like. Now the funny thing is, in '95 they got back together. The best known
Yeah.
lineup of Dokken, and they actually signed to Sony, and they put an album out called Dysfunctional, which I thought was quite good. I still quite like that album a lot. And I thought it did a good job of balancing the earlier Dokken sound with a little bit more of a modern sound, just a hint of it. But of course, I mean, nobody was going to make time for a band like that in
No,
1995.
not at that point. No.
So after that, they got dropped down to, you might remember a lot of bands got kicked down to like labels called like CMC, which like kind of, and this Shadow Life is one of those. And I don't know, man. You might listen to it and think, oh, it's not bad. I thought it was a disgrace. Didn't deserve the name on it.
I was going to actually play something, and I'm curious. So this is one of my favorite bands of all time. I own every single one of their albums, even the ones you can't get anymore. And during the grunge, so this was released. Oh, this is a remaster. I don't know what the date was, but it was definitely in the '90s time, right? And they did an album to try to fit in. They dyed their hair a different color. They started wearing flannel and stuff like that. So I'm just going to play it for a second. And I'm curious if
The
you guys
Lumberjacks.
can identify the band. I know, Tim, you know who the band is. Like, because every other band you've listed, like, you know who this band is for sure.
Okay.
Todd should know who they are too. So I'm just going to play. This is their grunge song. So this is a, well, we'll see. Here we go.
I'm a redneck geek and I better chill. Got a surf dog in my pocket. And the stick for the promised land with a 12-pack bud and a beat-up band. Didn't know back then about the surf dog in my pocket.
No guesses?
The Bullet Boys?
Musically, it's not bad, but I hate that vocal.
Yeah, right.
It's you just
know who-
and there was a lot
You know who
of
the
that
Bullet Boys are, right?
Oh yeah,
You know what his vocal normally sounds like?
was that seriously the Bullet Boys?
Yes.
That's Mark Torian singing that?
Yes. Uh-huh.
That's awful.
I do like a guitar riff one.
Like that was that there
The
was
guitar sounds.
that there was so much of that style.
Sounds like Uncle Peter, Todd. Sounds
Where
like
you
Uncle
just-
Peter
where
at a
you just-
barbecue.
where you just wanted to just tap somebody on the head or on the shoulder, and they turn around like from the microphone. You go, what? What are you doing? Just sing, sing the damn
So-
song.
So when this album
That's what it all
came out,
sounded like. So what album is that? I didn't even know.
this is called Acid Monkey, and it was the one.
Okay,
it was
okay.
It was their fourth
Yeah.
album, right?
Okay,
So-
that title sounds familiar, but
Yeah,
I'd never heard
huge-
anything off it.
Huge Bullet Boys fan. Like out of the second or third era of hair metal, they were my band. Hey, Ted Templeman produced their first album.
Yeah,
This is the new Van Halen, the new Van Halen-ish kind of band, you know. I was all over it. The first three albums, love them. Listen to them still to this day. I own their entire catalog on my CD wall here. Love them, love them, love them. I walk into HMV, Bullet Boys. What the hell's this? It was a Bullet Boys album? How come I don't know anything about this? It wasn't in Hit Parade or it wasn't in Cream? Well, what
Yeah.
the hell? So I pick it up right away. Sight unseen, didn't hear anything, buying it. It's a Bullet Boys album. Get home, put it on my stereo. What the fuck is this?
yeah,
So pissed off.
yeah. So
What
okay,
are you
so
doing?
this is comparable then. The Dokken
Oh.
the Dokken album is comparable as far
Sorry
as
for
like,
being so passionate,
what?
but I was
No,
so like,
no,
what
no,
are
no,
you
no, no, no,
doing?
no, no. This is look, man. I hear you because it was. Oh, this is stirring up so many things because I used to think like I don't know what those guys were thinking like that's in these older bands because the people that bought those grunge albums and those bands, it wouldn't matter what they sounded like. They were
No, the
never ever
name
gonna. They were
alone.
never. You're never gonna buy a Warrant album. You're never gonna buy a Skid Row album. So why not stick with like? There's nothing wrong with adapting. Most of my favorite bands
Yeah,
did, but when it sounds
sure.
like a deliberate thing, it's like,
Yeah,
yeah, everybody discovered Drop D.
yeah,
Even though it wasn't new, Tony Iommi was doing it in
yeah.
1970, but
That's right.
it became the biggest. But it was almost even worse.
Drop
Was
A.
was well, no, yeah, but when you get into when you can't even tell what key
What
it
note
is,
you're in? Yeah, it's like what?
and he said, what's that in? Drop Z. But when you had the post grunge bands, all of a sudden it wasn't cool to do solos anymore. No, it's
Oh,
because you
yeah.
suck and you couldn't play a solo if your life depended on it. God, I hated that so much.
Hmm.
Stained and Blink 182 and God.
Oh, yeah.
And that became rock music. That became commercial rock music for a while. Thank
Yeah.
goodness that's over with. Thank goodness that's over with. And while I'm ranting, let me go on to something else.
I
Everybody
love this. Please
everybody
rant.
everybody would get on bands for having hits with power ballads. It was all about the ballads, all about the ballads. Well, guess what? The grunge bands did the same thing. What was Alice in Chains' biggest hit? No Excuses.
Yeah.
You know,
Nutshell was a big hit for them, I think, too.
what songs by STP were big hits? Creep,
Mhm.
Sour Girl. Those are the more
Sure.
ballady type songs, right? What was Soundgarden's big hit? Black Hole Sun. It was the
Mhm.
closest thing to so
Oh,
it's
yeah,
like
for sure.
they all did it. They all did it.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit who you are.
Soundgarden was just a metal band,
They
in my
were,
opinion.
but Kim Thale was such an asshole. That was another thing I want to say. Reading interviews with these guys really made me want to punch them all.
Sure, yeah.
And now you've got Billy Corgan, who I despised in the 90s, doing these
Bring it
great
on.
interviews with all of these people that he would have made fun of in the press in the 90s.
Oh, for sure.
And I hate that. I hate that hypocrisy. It's the hypocrisy.
Yeah.
I hate that. Like it, it's like one of my favorite albums of the 90s is Winger's Pull album.
Sure. That was a good album.
And because of stupid Beavis and Butthead, that album
Why are they
died.
controlling?
I know. What are you, Lemmings out there? That was a
Oh, yeah.
great album. And it
Yeah.
was of the times. And it died. I remember reading an interview with Red Beach that said when that came on TV, they watched on the tour bus, like, we're in trouble. He said, and by the time we get to Cleveland, my hometown, there was like 15 people in the audience.
Yeah.
Like it was, and I've never seen, like, wow, like that was just unbelievable. And I used to think, why didn't they do that to a band I didn't like in the first place?
So, with this came up on the show before, and I want both opinions. So we were talking about. I have another sideshow called Metal Shop, and we're talking about the bubble. So there's a bubble going on right now. There was a bubble going on in the '90s, or sorry, the '80s, when grunge took over and hair metal was gone, and there was a bubble. So there was a lot of, like, we have to admit, there was some crap that was starting to seep into the hair metal scene, right? There was
they
they were signing bands that
there were
sounded
too many-
identical.
Yeah, there were too many bands. There were too many bands being signed, and for the record, I have to think Atlantic Records signed the most of them. And when
Sure.
the reason I say that is because for about 5 years in the 90s, all you saw in the cutout bins were the red and white Atlantic, whether they were CDs or cassettes, and all of these bands that I'd never even read about once in Metal Edge. So there's not enough dollars
Yeah.
for consumers. There's not enough promotional dollars for the video channels or the radio stations. It just wasn't feasible for all of these
Diluted the
bands
market.
to sustain a career. Dee Snider said it best. If one is good, but try telling that to a record company. They think if one is good, 20 is better.
Yeah, for sure. So they had the bubble that popped.
Yeah.
Are we in the midst of a bubble now? I feel we are. Todd, let's go to Todd first. Do you think there's a bubble on the current trend of music being these hyper glossy, no guitars in sight, no bass in sight, everything's on a synth keyboard, everything's produced with with tracks that they're using out of their recording. So, do you think we're going to hit a point where there's too much Maroon 5 and Maroon 5 like bands around where the bubble's going to pop?
Yeah, they haven't been relevant for over 10 years.
They're still selling, they're still getting hundreds of millions of views. So,
Oh, I know. Yeah.
but Todd, what's your is there a bubble?
I don't know. It's like bell bottoms. Like they tried to bring them back, and then that
Yeah,
failed.
yeah.
And
Chris
and
Robinson of the Black Crowes tried to bring him back.
I don't think they've been back since. But the thing is there's so many genres. Like if you go to the 40s, 50s, 60s, the way the music has progressed, 70s, nice rock, and then 80s up the ante a little bit more, added more distortion. Then you went to the 90s, and now you've got the drop D stuff, and then everyone's playing mezzo, dual rectifiers, and now they've cut that all out and went, okay, you know what? Now we're just going to go with these synth bands or Taylor Swift or all these Maroon 5 and stuff. I mean, it has its place. I don't think the bubble is going to burst. I think all that's going to happen is going to be the same with everything else. Everything is going to progress past that point. Something else is going to take its place, just like it did. I mean, it'll always be around, just like our classic rock. And depending on your age group, you will have a section saying, this is my section. Whereas the Gen Zs or the millennials, they've got their own piece of the pie that they like for music. And as we go moving forward, I don't know what they call them nowadays, but this whole new generation is going to have their own style music. Some kind of rob Peter and take from Paul and say, you know what, I'm going to make my own type of music. That's like when you listen to music now, he says, okay, well, country disco or metal yodeling.
Country is a big thing right now.
Like there's all kinds of different genres that people mesh together and they creep in. Every once in a while you'll hear a new band come out going, oh, well, that's different. It's got a little bit of a different flavor. But for actually bursting, I can't see. I think it's more of a progression.
Tim, your 2 cents?
Well, it's interesting because I am okay. So, like I said, I do work in radio. It's been almost 10 years since I think, well, no, maybe not that long, but I haven't been on air in quite a while. So I've been behind the scenes, which means I have been blissfully unaware of most of what's popular because anytime I would hear a snippet of it, I'm like, that's no good. That's not for me. I'm not the target audience.
Yeah.
And it's funny because say I go into a grocery store now and I'll hear songs from 9, 10 years ago that I used to have to sit and hear all the time. And it's awful. And it's like, I can't believe I was inundated with this stuff. It was just awful. And not only was it awful, it was the repetition of it.
Yeah.
Too tight. Playlists are too tight.
Is the Muzak version in the grocery store, or is it?
No. It's just the original shit.
Oh, okay.
And the music fan in me, I just had to compartmentalize. But since the work from home thing started, I listen to whatever the hell I want to listen to. So now every once in a while, I do have, a link to the outside world, as it were, because my wife listens to a little bit of everything. So sometimes she'll play me newer music that she'll play something. I'll go, what is that? That actually sounds real. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just an acoustic guitar and a voice. I think there'll always be a time when an artist will come along, like an Ed Sheeran, who is not fancy in any way, is not glamorous looking, just writes good pop songs. And I think there'll always be an audience for artists like that, but there aren't enough of them. And the whole idea of even like the heavier bands, when you can tell it's the programmed drums, I'm out. And the really lifeless sounding guitars, where it literally could be anybody. I'm not so much into that. And I don't know if we're in a bubble because the thing is, something that happened is that there became so many genres and everything became so formatted. When I look back, and I do this a lot, I'll go look back at an old Billboard or for Canada RPM or maybe a radio and records, you could pick a top 40 from any given week. And there was actually quite a bit of variety there.
Yeah,
More
there
than people
was.
gave it credit for, because I can remember, let's go back to 1990. Okay, so this is before grunge broke.
Yep.
There were a few of the bands that were out, but they were making inroads, but the flip hadn't happened yet. You could turn on any given top 40 station and you could hear uh, you'd hear Paul Abdul, or you'd hear Wilson Phillips, or you would hear, CNC Music Factory. You could hear Skid Row. You could hear
Mm.
Warrant. You could hear Def Leppard. You could hear Tom Petty. You could hear, Billy Joel. You could hear The Cure. You could hear REM, like the roots of alt rock.
Yeah,
And nobody cared. It was all,
it was fun.
you know
It
what
was
I mean?
music.
So things got so either or. If you like this, you can't like that, and that's nonsense. And
Yeah.
that has a lot to do with the problem. And one thing, it's funny that you mentioned country. So much of this modern country is not country at all. It's 80s rock with a fiddle and a twangy
Yeah.
singer.
Yeah,
And
really.
that's all it is.
Life
It's
is a
like,
highway country version. Like there's
Oh,
a great example of that's where that came from. They grew up on, anthem rock.
I hate.
I hate it, but I'm just saying, like that's
You-
what the
I'm
country
not okay.
people grew
I don't
up
want
on.
people that don't know me to know this, because they might think I'm just blabbing my mouth off and I'm a big blowhard asshole. It's not the case at all. I'm not a violent person, but when I hear that singer from Rascal Flatts, I think somebody ought to punch him. I hate his singing. It's just not. It's whiny to me.
Todd and I had a cover band where we had to play Boot Scoot and Boogie and Achy Break Your
My-
Heart. Todd, is that the other one?
My
No,
condolences.
Save a horse or ride a cowboy.
Oh, Save a Horse. Oh,
oh,
God,
good
even
Lord.
worse. So every time I didn't want to do it, I didn't want to perform it. I didn't like it either. But the country guys, the guys that like country in our bands, I know we have to do it. Trust me, we'll fill up the dance floor, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So just as a pure dick move, I would always go to the microphone before I would sing either one of those songs going, I'm singing this with a gun to my head. I hate this fucking song. Hit it. And that's what I did every time. And the crowd's like, okay, whatever, we like the song. And they would all,
They probably
but-
thought you were kidding.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
But
like, it's like
I
we'll fill the
hated it.
it's like we'll fill the dance floor. It's like, yes, but at what cost? At what
Yeah.
person? How much of our
Personal
souls?
cost.
How much of our souls are we selling to do this? To fill the dance floor.
I still have
Um,
this tick I can't get rid of ever since then,
Yeah, it's that's rough. Look, I mean, that's why when it just makes me so happy when younger people get into the classic rock, is like, the cream rises to the top. There's good and bad stuff in every genre.
Absolutely.
And where are we going with this? I don't know, but
Oh no,
yeah,
we were talking about the bubble. We were talking about the bubble. Is there a bubble?
I
Is
don't
there
know
not
if we're in a bubble. I think you know what? I think there's a million tiny little bubbles that just kind of bump into each other, and every once in a while
Sure.
something will flare up. And I do know one thing, like just from flipping through social media, and this isn't just with singers, but it's with actors too. I go, who are these people? I'm just
Mhm.
not. I'm just not immersed in it anymore. I
Yeah.
used to be.
I think I like what you said about the whole Ed Sheeran thing, because I do think, even though he's like incredibly popular and stuff and he's not exactly my cup of tea, at least he's writing his own songs.
Yes,
He's still playing instruments.
There's
Um,
there's an element of quality there, and you got to give it up for people that,
Yeah.
they're not just puppets.
He's genuine, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And even like I will say for like Billie Eilish, she was doing something no one else was doing.
right.
And she was doing it on her own on her YouTube channel or whatever the hell it was. Like, and they didn't manufacture her. She manufactured herself
Right.
and became huge. She actually did something innovative, different that no one else was doing. So kudos. There's still artists like that are breaking
Yeah.
through. I just want to see more of it.
The trouble
Like, I
is that when one, it goes back to that D. Snyder quote. Record labels are,
Yeah.
we need one of those.
we've definitely seen that happen. There's a lot of Billie Eilish. Like I remember, like I take once a week I take my kids to their music lessons, right? And in the car we listen to whatever they want to listen to.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, is that a new Billie Eilish song? Oh, no, 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 that's so and so. And then next song comes on. Oh, is that Billie? No, that's so and so. So there's so many clones, and it's frustrating.
Yeah, but unfortunately, that's not new. I mean,
No, it's not.
when Elvis was big, they tried to,
Ooh, hell yeah,
or the Beatles, they,
yeah,
but there are originals, there are originators. You can be influenced by, but when you take something wholesale from one person, it's, and then,
yeah.
yeah, but
That's
unfortunately,
how I
that's
feel
not a
about.
new thing.
That's how I feel about Coldplay. I really don't like Coldplay.
This That's another, like, the ability to fill stadiums. I don't get it.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah, I
get
don't
it.
get it at all. I really like Radiohead. Radiohead is one of my bands for sure. And when like, Coldplay came out and said, "Oh, they sound just like Radiohead," but Radiohead has a bunch of albums out. I can just go listen to that. Why would I listen to this? I don't need this other, weaker version of or diluted version of Radiohead. I'm just gonna go listen to Radiohead. So I think I don't know. I like songwriters who write songs and who write their own songs and that kind of thing. Like,
Well, that was, when I mean, I was working, heavily in radio in the early '90s when all the hat artists came out, the country artists,
yeah,
and most of them were just force-fed songs. You'd see them in there. Well, I didn't write that song. We know you didn't,
yeah, yeah.
because there's nothing up here.
It's the hit factory in Nashville, right? Like
Yeah,
here, we'll tell you what to sing. It's
yeah,
I don't know if you're familiar with Kelly Clarkson when she was like stuck in that contract with American Idol.
yeah.
She's a songwriter.
She
Most people
proved,
don't know
yeah,
that.
she proved herself a real artist.
Yeah. But she
Um,
had to push and
yeah,
fight. No, 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 we're not doing any of your songs. We're going to give you the songs. And she finally was able to do an album of songs that she wrote or co-wrote. And they purposely did not push that album. They purposely, let's let this fail, get it out of her system so we can put her back at the hit factory. We're going to write the songs for, they're all going to sound bland,
yeah.
generic.
That you just reminded me of something. There was a time right around like 2009, 2010, where that Ryan Tedder from One Republic was working with Kelly Clarkson, Beyonce. All of those songs were depressing and they all sounded the same. Like you could just tell. It was,
Max Martin from Sweden, same thing.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There was such a formula. It's funny, and because it's a little older, because it's from the '80s, I have more of an affection for it. But it was still very much a formula. I watched a documentary on Stock Aitken and Waterman. The songwriters and producers in the UK, that Rick Astley and
Oh, okay.
Bananarama, and of course the names aren't coming to me. Kim Wilde. I don't know, but they worked with a
Yeah, Kim
ton of
Wilde sounds right. Yeah.
They worked with a ton of people, and once you listen back, you go, "Yeah, I could tell."
Yeah.
They all sound this like the backing tracks and everything. Like, there's a formula at work there. But you know what? I mean, I think if you like it, then it's not a problem. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because
Yeah.
for me to say, "Oh, I'm against song doctors," would be hypocritical. Like I said, Bon Jovi was the band that kind of changed things around for me. So many of my favorite songs were co-written by Desmond Child
Yeah.
or Jim Valance,
Sure.
or you know what I mean.
Or
So,
Diane Warren or whatever.
and not so much Hirsch, but yeah, you know what I'm saying. Like, so it
Yeah.
all depends. It depends. It's like it's in the hands of the artist, right? But where are we going?
We did one of those again.
Yeah.
Hey,
I have a question for
I know
Tim.
I should have made a left turn at Albuquerque.
Okay.
Something tells me I should have stood in bed.
I wanted to ask about the books. Okay, so
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, he wrote some books.
So you've written all these books. Okay, so
Yep.
you've got Unspooled, an adventure, and 8 tracks. I'm assuming this has to do with 8-track tapes of the era. Would that?
This has to do with serious mental illness, is what this has to do with.
Okay.
That was my first book, and the germ of the idea for that book started. I didn't know it started, but when I first learned about this, it triggered something in me. Back in the mid '90s, when I first kind of got access to the internet, I've always been a collector as far as formats. Like if I liked an album, I like to get, if I could find it on vinyl, that would be cool, or Uh, and inevitably, that would lead me, because I like so many bands from, the 70s too, that would lead me down the 8-track rabbit hole, which I'm young enough to remember when these things were popular, but I'm also old enough to remember that at around the turn of the 80s, that was really the peak of popularity for that format. And then all of a sudden, there just came a time when you would go into your music section at a department store or a music store, like a Sam the Record Man, and they just weren't there anymore. So I was always kind of curious about when they actually stopped making them. And based on everything that I'd seen, it was like, well, it seems like it was 81, maybe 82, and you didn't see them anymore. And that's kind of true in terms of retail. But sometime around 95 or 96, I found a website called 8trackheaven.com, which it doesn't exist anymore. It used to exist in an archive form, but I don't think it's active anymore. But there was a section there where it talked about the 80s only, record club only 8-tracks. And that's when I discovered that if you were in the US and you were a member of, say, Columbia House, you could get certain albums on 8-track all the way through 1988.
Wow.
Which, right? Much later than you might have thought.
Get the really Van
Were these
Halen on 8-track.
were these oh yeah. Were these copies then? Because
No,
Columbia House was making copies. Were they not? Were they not always original? Like they were kind of not originals. They were their own versions, like a Walmart version of something, or
no, no, they were just a mail order company. There was Columbia House, and then there was RCA Music Service, which later became BMG Music Service. Um, they were mail order companies, and their big plug to people was 12 albums for a penny.
Penny, yeah.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
For your initial offer. Well,
Yeah.
and most people know about that, right? But I didn't realize this, that even though the stores in record companies stopped manufacturing 8-tracks for sale in stores, for some reason, the mail order companies like Columbia House and RCA I take pains to say RCA Music Service, not RCA Records, even though they were related. Just like Columbia House is related to CBS Records, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's a division, right? Which is why you would never see RCA artists on Columbia House and vice versa. Okay.
Okay.
So, if you were on like a Warner label that was neutral enough, there would be two different versions. And you're right in terms of, like, you could tell it was a Columbia House. They branded them, but they were
Yeah.
real. They were absolutely real, and they counted as record sales. But for some reason,
That's where I was going with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I don't think artists made very much, because I don't see how they could with their business model. They've lost a ton of money. They must have. I know so many people that got the introductory offer, sent general delivery, and then that was it. And then you'd go into a pawn shop and there'd be all these Columbia House CDs for sale, brand new. But anyway, so when I found that out, the very first picture I saw of a slightly newer 8-track, so this would have been mid-90s, I saw a picture of George Harrison's Cloud 9. And I looked at it and I go, that's from 1987. That came out on 8-track? What? And then I saw a picture of David Lee Roth's Eat 'Em and Smile, which is in my wheelhouse. I'm like, okay,
Gotta have that.
No, but what is going on here? So that's when I realized there was this whole other subsection of collecting that I wasn't, I was only getting started. And before eBay, you never stumbled upon these things, not in my neck of the woods anyway. And as far as I can tell, and I've done a lot of research on this subject, obviously we know Columbia House existed in Canada too. It was a different division. It had its own numbering system, and there were albums that you could get that only came out in Canada. The artists that never seemed to break through internationally. But Columbia House in Canada seemed to stop with the 8-tracks in 1984. So they didn't go as long as they did in the US, but they still went longer than what you would see. Like if a new album came out in 83 or 84, you wouldn't see it on 8-track in a retail store, but you could get it on 8-track if you were a member of Columbia House.
Wow.
And that just blew my mind. I don't know why it blew my mind, but it just seemed there's something very strange about it. And I still think there's something very strange about it. The fact that Columbia House in the US started making CDs available in 1986. So that means that there was a brief window for about 3 years where if you were a member of Columbia House, you had 4 options of how you wanted to get this album. You could get it on vinyl, you could get it on 8-track, you could get it on cassette, or you could get it on CD. And to me, finding out that 8-tracks and CDs coexisted is like finding out that humans and dinosaurs coexisted. Doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense.
Well, yeah.
And so
Why
and
would
so
you go
the
back to that?
so the seed of that idea was planted way back then because I wanted to know more. And naturally, I wanted to know, okay, yeah, but what albums exist on 8-track that I would want? You know, what hard rock albums or whatever exist on 8-track? Everything from all the way to 1988? No. But as then Facebook and then this Facebook groups and all these things happened where you started to learn more and more. And then you'd start seeing posts, pictures of them, actual pictures, not just rumors of something existing. And so that kind of fueled my imagination there, but I didn't plan on doing anything with it. Now, what changed was when I made the acquaintance of Martin Popoff, who is a very famous Canadian rock writer. He's written hundreds and hundreds of books.
I've read several of his books. Yeah.
Yeah. I was fortunate enough. I met Martin on a podcast, which I've been on before, called Rush Fans, which is just what it sounds like. And he and I were both on the same show. And I remember thinking, okay, if I'm going to have him on my show, I better message him now so he remembers who I am. And so I messaged him, asked if he wanted to come on. Specifically, I wanted to talk to him because he's about 10 years older than I am and see what he remembers about 8-tracks disappearing from store shelves. And so he came on, we had a great conversation, and he had no idea that they kept making them for mail order companies. He had no idea you could get albums that came out in the mid 80s on 8-track. And, we got to the end of the conversation and he said, I think you've got a book idea here. And that really got me thinking, well, if Martin Popoff thinks I have a book idea here, I must have a book idea here.
Well, you better listen. Yeah.
Yeah. And because he wouldn't just say that. So I then, he gave me some really good advice because what I wanted to do was basically start, as the book does with this, in 1981. And the reason I start in 1981 is that seems to be the year where there are some 8-tracks that came out only through the record club. So I use the term RCO a lot. That just says record club only.
Okay.
But that came out on 8-track that you didn't seem to have a retail counterpart. And you can hold a Columbia House and a retail version of the same album up, and you can instantly tell they're different. They look very different to each other.
Oh, yeah.
You'd hold cassettes up and it'd have a big CRC on them. That's how you knew it came from Columbia House.
Yeah.
With 8-tracks, the difference was even more pronounced. But so I started in 81 and then I ended in 88 because that's when Columbia House finally, said, okay, we're done. I don't know why they went as long as they did, but they said, okay, yeah, we're done. And make a list by year of all known titles that are confirmed to exist on 8-track. In other words, I've seen pictures of them. They're not fakes. They're legit. And that was going to be the book. But then Martin suggested I dug in and made it more about collecting and what drives people to collect things. And so I ended up getting these stories submitted from friends of mine because most of us collect something. Sure. whether it's hockey cards or whether, you know what I mean? Like we all, and
we all
you
do.
And you might not understand why someone collects what they do, but you can understand why they collect because you've got something that you're always on the hunt for, and you get excited when you find something you didn't have before. So that was a Kickstarter campaign. It did very well, extremely well. Exceeded all of my expectations. I thought, what a weird subject to do a book about, and I ended up selling well over 100 books. So it was, and I thought, great, cool. I wrote a book, and that was going to be it. But what changed is that I discovered that Amazon would publish books for you because with Kickstarter they don't publish books. You've got to find a distributor. You have to find somebody to print and then you got to mail them yourself. So my good friend Matt Phillips, who works for he has a company called Go North Design. He's a designer by trade, so he and I work on this. We're kind of partners in this, and he designs all my books. Is why they look so good. But it was a lot of work. It was fun work, but it was a lot of work in the money you pay out and shipping. And to be quite honest with you, now I couldn't do it and ship into the States. It would be too much.
Yeah, sure.
It
Yeah.
it would just be too much. But in 2023, we brought Unspooled over to Amazon, so their format. And then I got thinking, well, now that we don't have to worry about the physical shipping of these books, maybe I'll do another one. And that's when I wrote my Y&T book, Down for the Count, the Y&T album review, because they are one of my all-time favorite bands, and I've never understood why they weren't more popular. And there's never been a
Yeah.
book about them. There's still to this day, that's the
odd.
only book about Y&T. And I think every classic band deserves to be,
Sure. Yeah.
commemorated in that form.
Here's a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. So the members from Y&T, because you, like you said, no one's written a book about them before. Are they aware of this book? Is there? Have you contacted anybody in the band?
I was fortunate enough to have two of the members on my show.
Oh.
It would be Aaron Lee, their current bass player, and John Nyman, who's their guitar player, and he's been affiliated with them since the early '80s. He hasn't been a full member since, like, he was a full member from 2003 on, but he's known them forever. He used to play in Eric Martin's band, the singer from Mr. Big. So he played in that band along with Troy Laketta, who was the drummer from Tesla.
Yeah, from Tesla. Yeah.
So they're all Bay Area guys. And I know that, like, Dave Meniketti is the lead singer, lead guitar player in Y&T. He's the only original member left, because the other guys have passed on, but he's still doing it. He's still going out there. I know he knows about the book. I've never spoken to him personally about it, but I have talked to those other guys.
He'd be a great get.
Well, I'm working on it. I've been working on it for quite some time, and he's kind of semi-retired. So, but that book, believe it or not, for a band that never had a gold album, that's my biggest selling book by a wide margin.
Really?
Because
That's
I
awesome.
think-
That makes me feel
because-
good because
it's
the underdog band.
It's a band, yeah. And I think most of us have one of those bands we think was the one that got away. For me,
Yeah.
Y&T is the one. It's like there's so many points in their career where they had just the right songs and they had bad label management decisions and they just didn't break on a big scale. And I think that, but because of that, there's a dedicated cult following all over the world.
Sure.
And I think people were like, holy crap, somebody actually wrote a book about Y&T. And the other thing about that book that just absolutely blew my mind is, I'm just incredibly fortunate. I was trying to contact people that were associated with the band in some way or work with them in some way. And in doing that, I emailed and actually heard back from a guy named Hugh Syme, who, if you know anything about album cover designs, Hugh Syme is a rock star. Hugh Syme is probably best known for working with Rush. He's done every bit of Rush artwork from Caress of Steel onwards. The only Rush albums he didn't do were the first two. And he's worked with a ton of different bands. I can almost guarantee if you've got hard rock and metal collections from the 70s, 80s, 90s, you've got at least one thing that Hugh Syme designed. He designed the cover of my Y&T book.
Oh, that's him? Holy shit.
Yeah. And
because it looked familiar. I'm like, I know this design.
And so the reason, and the reason I contacted him is because he worked with Y&T once. This is a black and white photo, but he did this album, Contagious, from 1987.
Yeah, okay. That's the album I used to have.
And as a nod to that, his own work, he put a little beaker on top of the T. I don't know if you can see that. Oh, and look, he came back with that. It was just this beautiful steampunk album cover, and I'm like, this is amazing. And there's no question that cover artwork by Hugh Syme, there's no question people look at that and go, okay, well, this must be legit.
Yeah.
For
sure.
But yeah, the Y&T book was my second one. That was a panel book based on Martin Popoff's album by album series, because I really liked that format of asking a bunch of people the same question about a certain album and getting their answers and putting them together and editing it so it sounds like one big conversation. And I talked to him about it, and I said, "Are you doing a book on Y&T?" He said, "No, I don't think so." He said, "I'd love to. I'd take part. So he's in a couple of the chapters. I think he's in the first 3 chapters. So
Okay.
I've got his, yeah. And he actually wrote the foreword for my Unspooled book. I should mention that too. The next book I did after that was on a band that's well known, and they've got a couple of songs that will live on classic rock radio and in pop culture forever. But I don't think they're as well known as they should be, and that's Kansas. I'm a huge
Mhm.
fan of that band, enormous fan of that band. So that's the next book that I put out called "Let It Be Your Guide: The Kansas Album Review." I just happen to have all these, Andy. um, and that's my second best-selling book. That one's done quite well for me. Then after that, I'm like, okay, now what? Now what am I going to do? So after that, this one's different because it's all me. I wrote this entire one myself, even though it's on the same subject. It's an album by album, every studio album, and it's on Sammy Hagar. It's called Red on Black, the listener's guide to Sammy Hagar, because there's never, near as I can tell, there's never been a book that just talked about his solo career. He
No.
did a biography, he did an autobiography, he's
Yeah.
got a cookbook. Of course, there's
Yeah.
lots of Van Halen books, but there's never been one just on his solo stuff, and there's a lot to talk about there. So that was the next one, and then I put out 2 in 2025: the Sing Me Away, the Night Ranger album review, which is the
Oh, yeah.
biggest book that I've done. It's almost 300 pages. Very pleased with how that one
Is
came
that
out.
an album by album again,
Yeah,
or?
that just seems to make sense for me. I'm not interested in writing biographies, so I don't think I'm
Yeah.
equipped, but I can talk about the music and I can ask questions to get people thinking about it.
Yeah, sure.
And the current one I'm on is another one that I just wrote myself. It's The Sound That Haunts You, a beginner's companion to Fleetwood Mac, which is a
Nice.
little bit, and a lot of people have picked up on this. It's a little bit different from my other books, but that was by design. I wanted to do something a little bit different, and plus, it started with something my mother-in-law said to me, kind of jokingly. She said, "Tim, when are you going to write me a Fleetwood Mac book?" And I wasn't planning on it. I liked the band, and but I've kind of only been really listening to them since my wife and I got together, which is about 12 years now. So I still consider myself kind of a beginner because it's such a huge catalog, and there's so many different lineups and so many different genres. Because they started off as a blues rock band, and a lot of people, like most people, would have no idea if they heard some of the early Peter Green led Fleetwood Mac stuff. They'd have no idea who it was and that it was the same band, but it's the same entity. So so that's my current book, and that's the one that I'm pushing right now. But I'm kind of pushing all of them at any given time.
Well, yeah. So are you doing everything through Amazon then? Is that?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
for me, like this is not my main job. This just works. I don't have to worry about
Yeah.
shipping. I don't have to worry about damages. I don't have to worry about returns.
Yeah.
And I think people it's like, well, where can I get this book? Oh, PayPal me and I'll send you a book. Not that that's
Yeah.
not, but here's the link. Here's the Amazon link. It
Yeah,
kind of makes
that's
it
true.
official. For me, it just works. You know what I mean? It's like, why would I, yes, okay, they do take the lion's share of the profits, but it's a pretty sweet deal when you think about it. It's just,
You don't have to do anything. Just
well,
do the book and write it.
yeah,
and
and the
submit
other
it.
thing is that, if you're in the UK, you order from Amazon UK. They're print to order, so there's no, you're not crossing borders. There's
Mhm.
no shipping like crossing borders. It's
Yep.
wherever you live and wherever the closest Amazon, and you'll get it in a few days. So yeah, all my books are through Amazon. So yeah, and it's just crazy because I mean, here we 2026. 5 years ago, I had no books. Now I've got 6.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy, and
They also
I'm
do
just,
the digital version too, like for Kindle or yeah, they're through Kindle, which is really nice. Like I buy a lot of books through Kindle. Like sometimes I'm gonna try this out, Like I like the
Matt and I have talked about that, but it would be a lot of work on his part to reformat.
like for
Uh,
digital.
yeah, it's not just a matter of
Oh, it's not on digital. You're so okay.
no, it's not. It's not just a matter of unselecting one and selecting another. It's a
Okay.
whole, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it's not out of the realm of possibility, but yeah, we'll
So you
see.
got to do the audio book now.
A lot of people have said that. A lot of people have said that too.
A lot of work though. It's definitely a lot of work.
Yeah. And I don't know if I don't know if I'd want me to do it. I mean, I know I can, but
Yeah,
um, but I'm
just get some
also,
British guy to do it. You know,
you know
I don't
what?
know.
If I wanted one for my wife to listen to, I'd get an Australian accent guy to do
Oh, there you go.
it.
There you go. Yeah,
Well, ChatGPT has all kinds of different voices. Just get them
Oh,
to.
look, her
just
like her GPS. It's like this Australian dude
you
talking.
know what? I bet
It's
you
just
could for $20 you could hire someone from Shediac to read your book, and you'd be all
oh
set. Oh, this
oh
is the
geez
new book
they like
from
look
Tim Durling.
Fleetwood Mac, a band with several distinct live the hard driving blues of the Peter Green led lineup, the dreamy soft rock. Yeah,
It'd be awesome.
yeah. I could go for some Putin.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You
Yeah.
do it
You
all
know what?
too.
I think that's a good play. I keep getting uh, faces poking in here. I think my kids are Dad, you almost done. You almost done. I promised I would do something with them at 8 o'clock, and we're getting close. So
There you go. Nope,
this was
that's
a lot of
important.
fun.
Oh yeah,
We
thanks.
we
Thanks.
traveled down a lot of roads, so this is good.
Yeah,
Where did we
lot
end
of
up? We're not
opportunity.
sure, but that's all right. No, listen,
We
man.
ended
This
up
is
in
what
Albuquerque. I told
this.
you.
Yeah, this is what. Yeah, Pismo Beach. um, this. Yeah, this is what me and the boys talk about. Like when we talk about anything and everything music, and the hours whittle away. So it's great.
Yeah, no, it's good. Thanks for doing this. Is interesting how it came together. And if you get podcast related questions down the road, you know where to find me, and I don't mind you know pointing you in the right direction for that. But I think you could expand the audience of your video show
That's what sure
to the
sounds like it.
audio,
Yeah.
and on it. Like I think it's potentially bigger, but I don't know.
It's so yeah. It's worth a try. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
It's such an abstract thing. You can't predict people's listening or viewing habits, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So we've talked about your books. Where can we find you? What's the best way to reach you? Someone listens to the show goes, "Who's this Tim Durling guy?" I think I
Yeah.
want to reach out to him.
So, okay. So Tim's Vinyl Confessions is my YouTube. And actually, if you just go to timsvinylconfessions.com, it'll take you to my YouTube page because I rent that on a yearly basis. Just so I don't know why anybody else would take that domain, but that's where it takes you is the YouTube
Yep.
page. And that's also that's where you can find me on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. And yeah, if somebody wants to drop me a line, they can message me on Facebook or Instagram, and I'll always respond. And yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. Always fun to talk about this stuff, and it's great to have another avenue to promote the books. Because like I said, this
Yeah,
is
for
this
sure.
is not my main gig, but I know there's an audience out there for this stuff, and it's just a matter of reaching them.
Awesome. Well, thanks for doing this. I'm going to hit the stop button, and then